is the College Football Connection podcast with Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reed on 101 ESPN.
Apologies right off of the very top for the slightly bleary-eyed presentation on your latest edition of the College Football Connection Overtime Special for Week 11 on the 101 ESPN YouTube channel as well as 101ESPN.com exclusively. My name is Bradford Bruns, and by now you get it. You understand what transpired last night in Missouri, the exhausting affair that was, and yet thoroughly gratifying right at the end of the evening for the Missouri Tigers. So MU comes out on top over Oklahoma by the final of 30-23. In the next few minutes, you're going to hear audio as promised from the head coach Eli Drinkwitz, as well as all of the main marquee stars who helped produce that victory, and a scintillating one at that over former and renewed rival OU. What a turn of events, especially in the final quarter of that game when everything went absolutely bonkers. But you have to take it back to the very beginning, don't you? Because you have to set the scene insofar as entering this particular contest. Missouri, it was revealed about 75-ish minutes before kickoff, the inevitable, perhaps, insofar as Brady Cook, the quarterback, your senior leader, with just a couple of games left at Faurot Field in his home arena, his home stadium, not able to go, could not overcome, ultimately this week at least, the myriad of injuries. Lower body, the wrist ailment as well, suffered just a couple of weeks ago against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. So the responsibility, the start, for the first time, in fact, since late 2021, somebody not named Brady Cook stepped under center and started a ball game at quarterback for the University of Missouri. And as it is well documented, of course, for the first half of action against those Sooners, it was anything but a pleasing contest to watch. To use the term rock fight would probably be overly kind, quite frankly, because Drew Pyne, for all of the moxie and for all of the leadership qualities that we have heard lauded by the head coach Eli Drinkwitz, by the players in the locker room, the results simply weren't there again. Now, it wasn't a matter of Pyne turning the ball over repeatedly, as we saw versus Roll Tide. 3 interceptions, back-breaking ones at that. He took care of the football last night in the first 20-plus minutes of action. But it's not as if Mizzou could matriculate the ball down the field whatsoever. It's a 9-3 game at the half. Drew Pyne, in fact, for quarter number 1, he had a grand total of -4 yards passing at the end of the first half. This wasn't just a matter of Pyne being unable to do anything down the field. Oklahoma's heralded freshman quarterback Jackson Arnold, 43 yards. He was tied for the game lead in passing with the Sooners punter, who executed somehow late in the first quarter a successful fake punt jump pass attempt. And that told you basically all you needed to know about the execution or lack thereof through the first 30 minutes. And then something remarkably clicked. How did it transpire? How did it come to fruition? How did Pyne appear to be a completely different quarterback, almost a gunslinger in that manner, to begin quarter number 3? Mizzou comes out, is unable to really do anything on that opening possession. But thereafter, while he wasn't slinging the ball all over the yard, Luther Burden and Theo Weiss made incredible receptions, incredible plays down the field to certainly aid number 6 cause. This was somebody who looked so assured. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the confidence was in place, and the desire, the yearning to push up in the pocket and try to take advantage of some of the leaks, some of the gaps in the OU defense, that sterling defensive line. There were some cracks to be had, to be exploited, and we talked after the game with Pyne about exactly that, the transformation that happened about halfway through. But to hear him describe his response, very candid, very honest assessment, it's something that he felt as if he had kind of all along in his back pocket. It was just the most opportune time, the only time, to be able to bring it out. Take a listen.
Yeah, well, first of all, our offensive line they work their tails off. And, Drake came in, number 69 at center, and, Mitch came in, number 75. Those guys just battle all week. And so for me, I kind of noticed they were rushing. We got the iPads. They were rushing pretty vertical. So, that 1 3rd down conversion, I stepped up in the pocket and I started feeling, real good. So, in my mentality for, halftime, coming out in the second half is, whatever it takes. I'd be willing to die out there. I mean, I don't care. I love these guys on this team, and they've given me such a great opportunity to lead this team, and I'm just so thankful of it, and I try to do whatever I could to win.
Yeah, Connor Tollison, the junior stalwart at center, he was rolled up on last night as the game progressed. Pyne, as you would probably anticipate, deferring in a lot of different respects as far as the credit was concerned from Saturday evening. But it was Pyne, make no mistake about it, moving the offense down the field, especially later in the third quarter, hooking up with the old Norman stalwart in Theo Weiss, and then finding Brett Norfleet for the touchdown with under 9 minutes remaining in the ballgame. And despite the missed extra point attempt, we will get to some of the foibles experienced by the freshman Craig maybe at a later time. 16-9, you felt comfortable insofar as your defense, which had been tremendous throughout the evening. It had been holding Oklahoma down. Of course, Oklahoma missing a number of key individuals at skill positions offensively too. But then things took a ridiculous twist, to put it mildly. Arnold makes some plays. He's a very mobile quarterback. Wanted to actually see if the Sooners would utilize the wheels a bit more to a greater degree in the first half. It did not happen. Play calling was definitely under fire and in question for OU last night. Regardless, OU then takes the ball down the field on Missouri, and on a halfback toss back to Arnold, gets into the end zone from 18 yards out to knot it up at 16. And from there, the Missouri running attack, which had been evenly distributed. Nate Noel, you understood, you readily recognized he was nowhere close to 100% last night. He couldn't have been. He yielded at times to Marcus Carroll. He yielded as well to Jamal Roberts. Jamal Roberts, who has received more and more run if you've really been paying attention in recent weeks. And yet, Roberts puts the ball on the turf. This game, which Missouri had enjoyed a significant advantage in terms of forcing turnovers for OU, 4 overall for the Sooners compared to just the 1 for Mizzou. But then the scoop and score made you wonder, if you were there in the stands, the blackout crowd, if you were in the press box at Memorial Stadium, was that going to be the nail in the proverbial coffin, as it was 23-16 with 2 in only 2 minutes remaining. 8 plays, 75 yards. Pyne culminating that drive with a strike, a beautiful fade pattern to Theo Weiss, corner end zone on the far side. We're off and running there and probably bound for overtime. Another one, right? Shades of Vanderbilt just a few weeks ago. But Arnold, he is stymied once again by the Missouri defensive line. Whether you're talking about Zion Young, who had the climactic score from 17 yards out with just 22 seconds to go, Tristan Newsome, who actually sacked Arnold on the now infamous play to make it happen in the first place. This rotational thing that Corey Batoon has going on, I know that there are those out there who really have some objections to not playing the best guys per se on every single down. Well, you're going to wear them out in the SEC. You're going to wear them out in this league. And the cream of the crop for this conference, the Georgias, the Alabamas, you aspire to be like them? Well, they go with this technique, and that has allowed Missouri, still a top 16 unit defensively in the entire nation, to be able to be fresh enough when it has counted the most. So where do we go from here? Where does the head coach Eli Drinkwitz guide his team from here? After the game, it was mostly about reviewing, yes, the work of Drew Pyne and the belief that is there in the locker room that has been expressed and indicated by his teammates. So that's step number 1, but he also had a fair amount to say about South Carolina coming up next. So here is Drink first and foremost about Pyne trying to prove those classic naysayers incorrect and having a bit of agenda, having a bit of a message to send to multiple parties there in the press room.
I see him in practice every day. I've seen his game tape. He's played a lot of college football. He's won a lot of college football games as a starter. And one bad outing doesn't define a player. We have to quit reacting to every single play. Like, let guys play, man. There's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL through 3 interceptions. They don't go to the bench. You don't shoot them and get another one. You let them play through it, okay? And Drew is a competitor. He had a great 2 weeks of practice. He was in here grinding on tape. We had a game plan that fit exactly who he was. I mean, he was excellent. 11 for 19 on third downs. I mean, just excellent. Pushing up in the pocket, making big-time throws to Luther Burden. So there wasn't a shadow of doubt within this building. Within this building, there's no doubt. There was no doubt. So.
Now, could that have been said for the 50,000 plus in attendance last night? I'm not sure about that. I'm not even sure about all the speculation and the conjecture that is going to follow in the days to come before South Carolina arrives on the schedule in the battle for the Mayor's Cup in just a few days, as we're getting to wrap it up on the 101 ESPN College Football Connection. Overtime special for you on the 101 ESPN YouTube channel and 101ESPN.com. But Drink was on one last night. He was certainly taking to task Oklahoma and some of the offseason comments made by the former man at the helm of the program, Bob Stoops, esteemed leader there. We get it by now. Eli Drinkwitz keeps his fair share of receipts, and that's all well and good. The swagger and the bravado, it can come back after a momentous victory such as last night's affair in mid-Missouri. But down the line now, South Carolina is looming. And South Carolina, in just the last couple of weeks, going toe-to-toe and having its way with Texas A&M and Vanderbilt. This is a program on the ascent. And if you've never been to the other Columbia there, the former stomping grounds of Steve Spurrier, among others, you recognize just how difficult of a venue, of an atmosphere is there. And Missouri, we understand, even though there's still some aspirations to come regarding would-be college football playoff hopes. Maybe they're faint, maybe they're far off, maybe they cannot ultimately be realized. But to go in there and to try to put on a road performance, the likes of which you have not produced, admittedly, throughout 2024, it's going to be a monstrous task, regardless of whether Pyne is still at quarterback or Cook somehow is able to make a Herculean comeback for that game against the Gamecocks. Here's what we know. The full College Football Connection crew is going to be back for you. My partners, Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reed. We're going to have the lowdown looking ahead to week number 12 as Mizzou will enter week number 12 with the number 24 ranking in the Associated Press poll. That is college football playoff ranking still to come, and we will be able to download all of that info for you in a short time to come here live in studio in Creve Coeur. My guys will be back, but in the here and now, Coach Drinkwitz, take us home. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening, giving us some bonus time on this weekend, and until we meet again, take care, everybody.
Yeah, this will be real disappointing to Bob Stoops, but OU doesn't always whip Missouri's ass anymore, so.
You've been listening to the College Football Connection podcast with Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reed on 101 ESPN Sports Talk for St. Louis.